Tobias is there. We got to do this.
Tobias is here. Also, we're live. I think we're live.
We're at least living.
We're at least living. We are live. It's Taylor Primetime, I think. But you know what? No, really, it's Taylor Primetime. Check it out. Mike, we didn't have a picture of you, so we put a guitar up there.
It didn't look anything like me.
It didn't look anything like you. Anyway, welcome to Taylor Primetime. Andy, take it away.
What time is it? What time is it? It's prime time. It's prime time. What time is it? What time is it? It's prime time. It's prime time. Oh yeah. Hey everybody. Welcome to Taylor Guitars Tuesday night show. We call it prime time. Another show, another week, another day, another donut, or something like that. Tonight we are very, very glad to have Mr. Mike Venezia, District Sales Manager, Mr. Mikey V. And Miss Lindsay Love in the corner. Say hello to Jay Parkin, the man with the cap. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Andy.
Welcome to Primetime.
The man with the cap. I'm wearing a Yankees hat tonight for Mr. Mike Venezia. Mike Venezia, District Sales Manager. Welcome.
Hello.
To Taylor Primetime. I don't know if there's anybody in the feed who may work at a Taylor dealer, but you may recognize Mike. You are one of the faces of Taylor Guitars University online.
True story. And,
Taylor,
and I apologize.
Why do you apologize?
Because this is a problem area. Yeah.
But you have a mohawk. Hey, Lindsay,
right now, yeah.
Lindsay, yes or no? Quarantine mohawk, yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah. Keep it fun.
Exactly. Man.
It's more out of necessity because there's, this is where like most of the hair is, and there isn't anywhere. Actually, most of the hair is here. But if I did a beard mohawk, that would be stupid.
You should do it.
You should do it. That'd be.
I can show you pictures from the late 90s where that happened. So
really?
Yeah.
Why didn't you send these pictures? We could have
for that exact reason.
Oh, because we would have used them.
I know. Therefore.
Oh, I get it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again Tuesday nights, 6 p.m. PST for Taylor Primetime. Man, this is episode 10 of season 2. That means how many episodes did we have first season? A lot. 30, 20?
Yeah, 20
It was up there.
20 something.
Yeah.
It was up there. So if you do
29, 20, 30, yep.
30, 90, something. Mike, you should know. You watch, right? How many episodes?
I think this is episode 39 overall. So I think you had 29 in season 1.
Holy smokes. We did 39 things. Wow. Thank you for watching. And you know what? My mom has watched every single episode. So shout out to my mom.
Wow.
In fact, Mike, before we go into the first segment, maybe you would like me to change this hat and put this hat on, because today we had a 10th inning walk-off and we've been really doing a good job beating those Indians up there in Cleveland.
If there's one time I like the Detroit Tigers, it's when they're beating the Cleveland Indians. As the Yankees have owned the Indians the past few seasons in the playoffs, it's been a good time. We know somebody who's a fairly large Indians fan, right?
Gabriel, yeah, producer.
Yeah. Yeah, the producer.
He likes that Cleveland team, and I think. Oh, right. 2016, they got beat by the Cubs in Game 7 of the World Series.
There was that.
Rain delay. He blames it on rain. He blamed. Sorry. We'll turn this into a sports show real quick. But
yeah, there we go.
My Yankees hat back on for Mike. We just really needed to lean into Gabe real quick. Gabe,
and we'll continue to do so
the whole show,
even when this is done. Like this is just now. The rest of it happens when this isn't happening. So yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, this is a Guitar Nerd Talk show, and we're going to get to it real quick. In fact, we're going to get to it that if you haven't watched the show before, you know that we do trivia at the end of the show. Okay, so tonight we only have one prize. That means it's a big prize. The big prizes in the past have been a sign like the sign behind me, the LED sign behind me. Looks neon, truth, it's LED. Okay, but today's gift or today's prize is not that. In fact, we have one question, one prize. The question's kind of hard, so you're going to have to put your thinking caps on. But the prize itself is yes. The Taylor Sense Smart Battery.
Ooh.
Gabriel,
It's a good price.
show the clip. It was kind of not a useless clip. Like that was really actually a legit kind of nice.
it made sense.
Nice looking clip. Gave some, valuable information there.
Have we upped our shipping game on the prize situation? I think
We finally got the cleaner that was out of stock. So everybody is now. I think our boy Adam sent me tracking and confirmation that all the shipments had made it out, and everybody is now being connected with their either Carry Too Smooth if they want a lesson. Both of his lessons have been introduced and set up, and then Nick's are being set up right now. So we're in good shape. We're getting back. So we'll be able to ship the Taylor Sense within the next 17 months.
It's a new day. It's a new day for us.
It's a new day. Balancing the tone equation is the subject for tonight. And I don't know, somebody just went away.
Our guest just went away.
Did he just go away?
I think he did. I think he pretty much bailed.
What the heck just happened?
Welcome to the show, Mike.
Mike, welcome to the show. This is how low budget the show is. See,
I'm Mike's evil twin brother.
We added $5 to the budget this year for season 2, and sometimes with that $5 we do this thing where people just disappear. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
I'm back. I'm better than ever.
All right. Well, you know how the show works, Mike.
I do.
We have some segments, and the very first segment we like to go into is this little segment called Hug Your Haters.
Yeah.
We don't really have hate, but we have a good time. So, Gabriel, run the clip. Maybe.
I think I knocked Gabriel out.
Did you not?
Can we watch that again? I really like that. That's so good.
Gabriel, run the clip again. It's so good. Andy, do you have some music for this?
Everybody needs a hug these days. Now and forever. Most hugs and high fives need to stay virtual. Unless you're high-fiving within a bubble. So we show love. We spread it around. Show some love. Help someone up who may be down. We mispronounce some names. We make a lot of mistakes. This show is live, baby, there ain't no second takes. So live.
That's so good.
I put the biggest ding in my guitar like 20 minutes before we went on. I can't stop touching it. It's like legit like the size of an E string. That's like how big it is right here.
I'm fairly certain you know a guy.
Huh?
I'm fairly certain you know a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably take care of that.
Before we go into the show the love, hug your haters, Andy, what is the guitar of the day? What are you playing?
This is my trusty Academy nylon, now very worn in. Now, in my broadcast studio, which is essentially an island and a kitchen up here. This right here, not good for the edges of guitars.
Oh no!
It made a cool sound though. It was like, dong.
Well, you should hug your guitars.
I just did, man. I do it. I'm sorry, buddy.
All right. Well, let's get into the hug your haters. This isn't a hug your haters. This was the greatest email we got today. It wasn't the greatest email we got ever, probably, but today, Lindsay, I would say it's up there, right? We get 1 billion emails a day, right?
Yeah, it was a good email.
This was by our friend Jim. This is how good this segment is, by the way. Just a subtle correction. There's no at the end of his name, as you panelists, one of the panelists, have said it twice now on the air. John Baptiste. And it's in the next segment. We talk about what we're listening to, right?
Yeah.
So the greatest part was, you may consider this your hate mail for the segment if you'd like. Smiley face. Jim, we got you, man. We got you. We show the love. So, you know what's really clever is I started doing some research on this because I'm like, who is mispronouncing this? I didn't go back into our show. I just started YouTubing how to pronounce his name. And look what we found. Gabriel, run the clip.
Out for us. I understand. And that man is John Baptiste, right over there.
This is my friend. Actually, Jean Baptiste has some cute clothes on.
Oh, doesn't he?
Too.
Oh, look at that. The guy knows how
I hope we don't get busted from CBS, but it was already on YouTube, so I just borrowed it.
Now we know.
Now we know. Yeah,
Now
we just borrowed it.
Right.
Thank you.
Next segment. What are you listening to? Gabriel? Oh, wait, Mike. This clip is for you.
Yeah, I figured you were going to use that one, so I had to send it.
That's so good. What guitar are you holding?
That's a company that rhymes with PRS. And it was custom made for an artist that a guitarist of an artist that rhymes with Mady Baba.
What? I think you can say everything that you just said.
Actually, I don't even know if I can legally, to be honest with you. But she sang a song at the presidential election. Let's just say it's her.
Okay.
And it was her guitarist at one point had that guitar, and now it is currently owned by one of the stores that I visit.
Is Mike making up his own trivia questions right now? Is he like off the rails? Do we need to bring him in a little bit?
Nope. Not making it up.
I swear this is going to be one of the best shows you've ever seen because it's Mike Venezia. Mike Venezia, this is What Are We Listening To, or What Are You Listening To? And you know what the best part is? Andy has music.
Clapton, Hendrix, or Page? How about Beck, Vedder, or Cornell? Do you need more cowbell? What's new? What is new? What are you listening to? What are you listening to?
My favorite song.
So good.
A
Oh,
pre-chorus.
man. I think I look forward to Tuesdays a lot. Anyway, Mike, what are you listening to?
Currently, Andy Lund.
Sorry about that.
Nah, it's all good. I mean, look, if I can play half that well, I'd be half as good as you. But as far as what I'm listening to now, I'm all over the map. I mean, I have this reputation as being a heavy metal guy at Taylor, and it's not untrue. It is a little bit of a fish out of water thing. However, my tastes run the gamut. And recently, I remember Andy mentioning on a previous podcast, Taylor Primetime with Dave Pelletier. You guys brought up the fact that we do our Friday sessions, our Friday 4:30 sessions, where we make playlists and things of that nature. And one of them was, it came from the 80s. And one of my favorite albums that came from the 80s is Faith No More's The Real Thing. And Mike Patton is one of my favorite vocalists, and by far one of the best rock vocalists of all time. And I'm not afraid to say that. I'll put him in the same company as Vedder and Cornell. And I've been on a Mike Patton kick recently. Just pretty much everything that he's done has been gold in my mind. So I've been listening to a lot of Faith No More, a lot of Mr. Bungle, and I'm awaiting the new Tomahawk album to arrive in my mailbox soon on vinyl. So that's what I've been listening to. A lot of Mike Patton-esque material, anything from Faith No More to Tomahawk.
He sang on Dillinger Escape Plan EP too. That was really
He
amazing.
did. Actually, you know what he did most recently? And this is interesting trivia, not for Taylor Primetime. He actually, there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game out. He sang the theme song.
Holy smokes.
And that's all over the YouTubes as well. So you can find it.
The YouTubes. So if you want to find it, you can go to the Googles.
Yeah, or the interwebs.
All right. That's amazing. Lindsay, what are you listening to?
So this past Sunday Sunday was a versus on Instagram, if you follow all that. And they had versus, the Isley Brothers versus Earth, Wind and Fire, right? And so 2 hours of their catalog, did 20 songs a piece. And so after that, I already love them. I'm huge fans of both groups. So I just started doing a deep dive into both Earth, Wind and Fire again. And of course, the Isley Brothers. I think Earth, Wind and Fire, they said that they have over their 50-year career, they have 45 albums and they're working on one right now. Isn't that insane?
I barely own 45 albums.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. Anyways, and it's all good. Like it's so good. That's the thing. It's so good. Oh.
They have to be like 1,000 years old.
Well, Ron Isley, Mr. Biggs himself, is 79, I think he said. Yeah, and then I think Earth, Wind and Fire is up there too. They're in the late 70s. So yeah. But 45 bodies of work. Just Earth, Wind and Fire. I mean, Isley Brothers have their own impressive catalog. Oh, my gosh. Anyways, that's what I've been going through.
Right. Mr. Lund, what are you listening to?
Man, I'm still on my Muse kick, Jay. I went back to the record that this is not their first record, but this is the first time I heard them. That the opening track of this thing, Apocalypse Fate, please. Man, that is the definition of epic, if I've ever heard anything like that's epic. Just that massive drum fill, massive drum thing, and the piano that comes in. Love it. And Jay, I'm going to go back to this next week because I haven't listened to this in like years. So I'll report back on what I hear.
So
Jay, what are you listening to?
I told you that In Rainbows is my favorite Radiohead record.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. It's interesting because it wasn't always we could go back to the Dave Pelletier episode, and we were talking about Radiohead for a little bit. Radiohead can shift for some people, but In Rainbows, I love that record. It's fantastic.
I think when I first got this, I was like, I don't get it, man. I was like, I had to put it away for a while. But that's what happened with Radiohead with me for a couple different records. So I'm not surprised anymore. But yeah.
So you want to hear a funny thing that happened with Radiohead? You know that thing you do with, what is it, Dark Side of the Moon and The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
Where you watch and it's the third lion roar, and then you start it and you sync it up and you watch this whole thing with that as a soundtrack. Well, back in the days of 5 disc changers, we had that, and we were sitting there, watching it, having it. It's awesome. It's fun. If you've ever done it, if you've never done it, try it. It's great. And so we do this, right? You got to get as close as possible and sync, and it's really dang close. So the next CD in the CD changer was Amnesiac. And if you remember the artwork for Amnesiac, it's like flying witches and very Wizard of Oz like. But there's the third lion roar. When it gets to the third knock on the Tin Man's chest, Amnesiac just happened and it started going, right? And it was like even more synced than Dark Side of the Moon. And I thought that I found something out. Maybe I did, but try it. It's really fun. So there's that little thing. You know what? I went back to I love the this is true. This is true. I went back to the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds, man. I am a huge Beach Boys fan. I found the Beach Boys before I found the Beatles. So I was just in I felt early on as a kid, I had some friends who were big Beatles fans, and they just kind of like beat me over the head with the Beatles. So I was resistant for a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I found it later and figured it all out later, but I was always a Beach Boys fan. So I was listening to Pet Sounds all week. That was awesome. So there's me. What's next? What are we doing? Oh, we're going to get into the show. Thank you for listening to our chit chat. This is a Guitar Nerd talk show, and sometimes we talk.
Very interesting.
Very interesting person. It is. I am weird. You have my mother to thank for that, and she's watching, so be nice. All right, Mike, you know how this show works. I have a question, and you know what that question is. Mike Venezia, District Sales Manager, marathoner. You run marathons, right? You run a marathoner, guitar player, metalhead, Yankees loving, baseball fan. You're probably a Jets fan, but we'll talk about that later. Mike Venezia, what in the heck do you do?
How many words do I have to explain?
Go for it.
Okay. I can use all the words?
Yes.
Good. All right. I didn't know if there was like a word limit on the show. I am the district sales manager for the Northeast for Taylor Guitars. So I live here in San Diego. Sometimes it seems when it's not quarantine and COVID-19 season, I actually go out and I visit stores in the Northeast. I take care of most all Taylor dealers from West Virginia all the way up to Maine. And I've seen some people in the chat saying that they've seen the road shows I've done in the stores. So thank you for coming. But yeah, that's predominantly what I do. I help guide our dealers in the right ways and so that they can guide their customers in the right way and help everybody find their sound, really. Predominantly through Taylor Guitars. Not gonna lie, got to pay the bills, right? But yeah, I mean, it's a great rewarding opportunity to, it's a great balance between being able to work on both sides of the counter in a way. I worked in retail. I did musical instrument retail for a really long time. And then having this job, it's like, all right, well, I know how you are on that side of the counter. I know what that life is like. I know what life is like on my side of the counter. And I love helping customers still because it's just always rewarding to have them walk away with something that makes them happy, makes them want to perform or create or find their inner muse or express themselves through music. because let's be honest, music is a universal language. It's like one of two. It's like music and math, and I don't like math, so I'm going to go with music.
You like mathy music, though.
No, I don't do the math metal thing. I just don't. I can't count to 67, like, and then start the next bar. Like, I can't do it. So,
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, look at Mike's background. Just look at that background. Like, the guy has been around this industry for quite a while. You don't just, spit a spitball through a straw and end up with gold and platinum records. Like, Mike, explain your career. Why do you have these albums, these gold records on your wall? What else have you done?
I was the guy recommending more cowbell. No, because when I put on my pants, I make gold records. No, I used to work in artist management a number of years ago, and some of the spoils of working in the music industry in general is sometimes winding up with things like this, which are kind of cool and timeless. And many of those bands are actually still around. So it was a very interesting time to be in the music industry. It was during I worked for a gentleman by the name of Andy Gould, who is still in the industry himself and still rocking along and still managing some great artists. And, learning from somebody that came up through the music industry himself through the 70s, learning everything that I learned in the 90s, and then taking that forward into what I'm doing now. It all ties together, which is nice. But back then it was, all go, no quit, pedal to the metal lifestyle job, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was a lot of work. And, but it was really rewarding. And the experiences I got doing that, working with artists, incorporating my knowledge of gear to being able to facilitate artist relations for a lot of those artists. I was the guy going to NAMM every year, and making connections between my bands and other companies, and getting those artist endorsements with string companies, guitar companies, amp companies, pedal companies, et cetera, and so forth, because I'm a gear nerd. I love it. I'm a musician myself. I mean, I've been playing guitar since I'm 12 years old, and now I'm 14. So it's been, a really interesting ride, being in all different facets of working with musical instruments over different facets of the music industry in general, because it all ties in the music industry, whether it be, without instruments, you can't really make music. I mean, you could sing, you could do a cappella, but how long can you listen to the Pentatonics? They're great, don't get me wrong. But you need instruments, and being able to be around instruments and work with great people that make the instruments. I've been really lucky. And I've made a lot of great friends along the way, and I'm just happy every time I get to impart some of that wisdom onto to somebody else and have them take it for whatever it's worth. And if it helps them in their journey, then great. Awesome.
Definitely. Mike knows what he's talking about. He does a lot of our training. So we have a big training platform where we educate the folks, the men and women who are selling our instruments. We try our hardest, because they are the ones who you are asking questions when you walk into the store. If you have it, we've all experienced the not so well-trained music store salesperson, and it can be pretty frustrating. So that is one thing that we take pride in, and that is, let's train the folks. Let's really answer their questions. So Q&A tonight is going to be really great for Mike. It's fantastic. But Mike, I really wanted to dive into balancing your tone equation, right? The tone equation. We talk about the tone equation. I will let you refresh us on the tone equation. We have chatted about it many a times on the show, but I really want to dive into, educating folks on and making sure they know it's okay to get out of their comfort zone. Maybe try something different. I mean, I got a giant pedal board behind me. You can't really see it, but run your guitars through pedals. Do weird things with them. But Mike, let's go through. And one of the reasons why I personally wanted to have you on the show is because I've seen your find your fit. I've heard it last week on Clubhouse, right?
Yep.
We had a room and we chatted about it. It was fantastic. But more so, your road shows are fantastic. And the way you you have a passion for this and you really know how to explain what's going on here. So let's dive into that. The goal here is get out of your acoustic comfort zone. So Mike, let's walk through the tone equation and we'll ask some questions and go from there. The tone equation, what is it?
The tone equation, the hallowed trinity of things that equals tone. It's the shape of, especially when it comes to acoustic guitar, it's the shape of guitar you're playing, the woods it's made out of, and then the third and most important part is the player. Okay. And the reason why I say that's the most important part is because you can have a guitar, any guitar, and there's four of us that are on the screen. Well, one right now, but there's generally four of us on the screen. And I'd see now there's four, and I can give that same guitar to Lindsay, to Andy Lund, to you, Jay, and all of us are going to approach the guitar differently. We're going to hold it differently. We're going to hold it to our bodies differently. We're going to make it sound different. Right. So that part of the equation is super important. And because everybody's an individual, there's an individual shape and tone wood that'll set a particular person up to accomplish their goals. Okay. So there's many different ways to peel back this onion, because, you could say shape plus tone wood plus person equals tone. Yeah. But then there's a lot of other things that go into that tone equation around the player. And for me, Jay, you mentioned I'm more of a heavy metal guy, and I am. But at the same time, like I mentioned, my influences span many different genres of music. I don't just sit around all day, putting nails through my fingers, and listening to, 240 beat per minute songs. Sometimes I listen to songs that are 220 beats per minute. But obviously working for Taylor is changed the way that I approach my playing and my writing and my recording, because I'm exposed to all different types of acoustic guitars, shapes, tone woods, etc. So for me, it's been a really interesting journey, and that should be the same type of journey that the players should be going on as well. You got to look at it. What do they always say? Getting to your destination is great, but the ride's got to be fun. The ride is sometimes the best part. And that is really when you're looking, when you're searching, when you're chasing tone. I'm sure we've all heard their term, chasing tone. The ride is the best part of it. So what do you do in that particular instance? Well, you have to look inside yourself and say, what is it that I want to accomplish? Where do I want to get? And then you have to sort of reverse engineer that, right? Say, all right, I want to record this song and I want it to sound like this. Okay, great. So you know what the end result's going to be. How do I get there? And then you start taking steps backward. And you could say, well, then I need a guitar that's going to sound like this. But that means that I need to play it like so, which means that I need to have the knowledge of these chords. Like you really have to take it all the way back to the embryonic stage of writing the song. Like, where was I influenced? How can I get that across? Do I know these chords? How do I make this sound? And then how do I take an instrument? How do I take this vehicle, this tool, right? Because every guitar is a tool for the tool belt. How do I use this tool in the way to build my house, right? So really that's where going outside of your comfort zone really comes in, because what you're hearing in your head might not be what you're used to playing, right? That happens to a lot of us. We have a sound in our head like, I can never do that. Well, is that really true? Maybe you just need to know how to get there. And sometimes you just need to try different things. And if there's anything that anybody takes away from today, it's you need to try different things. It doesn't hurt, because if you're trying something else, it's not costing you anything. If you bought every guitar that you tried, yeah, you're going to go poor pretty quick, but you have a great collection. If you're trying things out though, go to a guitar store, try things out, invest in your relationship with the guitar store, because a lot of us have relationships with guitar stores. Before I started working at Taylor Guitars and dealing on that side of it, I used to shop in guitar stores all the time. I still do now, which is why you see a lot of things on the wall. Like I don't keep any money. I buy a lot of guitars. I have a problem.
Running shoes and guitars.
That's pretty much it. It's like running shoes and guitars. And that's because I'm always chasing tone. You need good shoes when you're chasing tone. So really it's investing in yourself. And when I say investing in yourself, I'm not saying buy all the guitars. Invest the time in yourself to figure out what it is that you want to do. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's the first step. Everything else comes from that. It's like a choose your own adventure book. Like, I want it to sound, I want to be a singer-songwriter. Great. Go to page 68. You need a spruce rosewood guitar. Well, you don't need a spruce rosewood guitar, but it's more advisable. And that leads me to another point. There are no rules.
Yes. Thank you.
There are no rules. Do you like it? Does it feel good? And does it sound good? You're done. Right? If it's accomplishing your goals, then it doesn't matter what it could be shaped like a pelican and painted orange. Like, who cares? Though, let's be honest, that probably wouldn't sound very good, but unless it has V-class bracing. I never had a V-class brace pelican. Anyone? It would be, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you say, I like the way this sounds, but it doesn't have the right name on the headstock, or, I don't like the color, pay less attention to that. Pay more attention to what it sounds like, how it feels in your hands. Can you finger pick a great big guitar? Yes. Can you do a lot of strumming on a small body guitar? Yes. Do you have to approach those two differently? Yes. But it doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you absolutely can. You just need to approach it in a different way. And if it gets you to your goals, then the ride was worth it.
Lindsay, you got a bunch of guitars. How did you find that acoustic guitar? The one. How did you find it? Were you just doing what Mike said, just going into the store and just kind of sitting down with every single guitar and finding it?
I mean, not every single guitar, but yeah. I mean, I think just knowing the sound that I wanted, the way I approach guitar, the way I approach acoustic guitars, the way I play a lot with my fingers, not with picks. So that changes the thing. So that, just exactly what he said, just sitting, playing. And I love that you said that, Mike. There's a lot of pressure, I think, in the guitar world, especially if you're on forums or they're like, people are always critiquing gear and what you have. And so there's like a thing of like, oh, I don't want to like a Squire. I have to like a traditional, Fender, or, oh, I don't want this guitar. I should like this guitar because, people are like, oh, that gear sucks. But the truth is, if it works, it works. I mean, I think in the beginning, even with pedals, people would be like, you don't have a compressor pedal? No, I don't. But I like the way it sounds. So I don't need that. Like, but you think I better buy one because if I'm a guitar player, I better have one. Like, so I love that you said that really it's just like, if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah. It boils down to, you're the one who's playing. So you shouldn't be a slave to what somebody else is telling you to do. You could take their suggestion, you could try it out. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with making suggestions for somebody like, hey, have you tried one of these? This might be really cool. But what you can't do is stand on principle and tell somebody you need this.
Right.
The only time that really works is if you're deciding between a couple of different guitars and you're in a store and you're asking somebody's honest opinion. Well, I like the way I think you're playing this one better. This one sounds better, but it sounds better to me. You have to make that final decision.
Right.
That's the closest you can really get to that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I've heard you say it. I've heard a lot of our sales people say in the past, but it rings out to me the time I heard Mike Venezia say, someone walked up to him, and it might have been at the Philly Guitar Show. It may have been there, but somebody came up and asked you a question, and the question was, what's Taylor's version of a D28? And you said a Martin D28. You should go buy one. Right?
Yeah.
Because that is the truth. We don't have a D28. We're not going to make a D28. A D28, a Martin D28, or a Martin D18, or a Gibson J45. Those are those instruments, and they're really great. You find one that you love, grab it, take it. It's okay. They're awesome instruments. Electric guitars. I'm sitting back here with this really awesome or ugly D'Angelico. I love it. It's light blue and awesome, but it feels really good in my hands when I play it. I enjoy it. Right. So I like that you said that. Just try. Mike, is it okay to change the strings on a guitar?
Yes. Is this a trick question?
But we get that often. We get the question often. Do you have to use a certain brand of strings?
Oh, I thought you meant like, do you just need to like change strings? Like, well, I hope so. That means you're playing the darn guitar. But yeah, I mean, is it okay to like switch brands? Sure. Is it okay to switch types of picks? Yeah. And look, I'm going to really just kind of hang myself here by saying that changing your strings and changing your picks will be the cheapest way for you to change your tone. You know, you don't have to buy another guitar. I'd like you to. I'd like to keep coming to work. And everybody else in production would like that too. And anybody who's on this on Primetime would as well. But the fact of the matter is, if you're looking to make small changes on the quick, well, that's one of the quickest ways to do it. Change the type of string, the thickness of string, the material the string is made out of, or just change your pick. You know, change the material the pick is made out, change the thickness of the pick, the shape of the pick. All of those things play into it. Lindsay plays with her fingers. I play with like a Jazz 3. But I use a Jazz 3 on electric. I couldn't use a Jazz 3 on acoustic. It doesn't sound good. It sounds terrible, actually, to me. Again, going back to that, to me. And I'm not trying to be a shill here. I just happen to prefer our Thermex picks that we make at Taylor Guitars, that we have at Taylor Guitars. Our Thermex picks, I think, sound great on acoustic guitar. You know, it doesn't work for me on electric though. So there's different things that you can do to get the right sound. I'll finger pick sometimes for different inspiration. You know, I'll just say, well, as opposed to me strumming this, let me arpeggiate and just finger pick, you know, this particular chord. Just like I'm sure that every so often Lindsay says, you know what, I think this deserves maybe a little bit of extra strumming going on here. Let me dig in a little bit, you know, and just like Andy's playing, a nylon string acoustic guitar right now, but I know that's not the only guitar that he has. And it's not the only guitar that he plays. He's looking for different inspiration for different reasons. So, you know, yes. Should you change your strings? You should always change your strings as a maintenance thing. But if you wanted to migrate to a different brand to try it out, there's no rules. The only thing, and there is an asterisk that goes along with this. If you're changing thicknesses of your strings, you do need to be wary that your guitar is set up for the thickness that you are changing to. So most Taylor guitars are either a set of lights or mediums. They're either 12 gauge or 13 gauge. If you decide you're going to go from 13 gauge to 11, you have to expect there's going to be a feel difference and there might be some different buzzing and what have you. So you may need to do a neck adjustment, bring it to a luthier to have them restring it for you if you're making that radical of a change. And if you're going super thick as well, you got to watch out for depth of the grooves in the nut as well to make sure that it's seated correctly. Otherwise the strings might be too thick and sitting too high, which is not going to give you the right response and your intonation will be completely off. So it's very important to remember those things from a mechanical perspective, but from a philosophical perspective, yeah, try different things. That's how you find your sound, you know? If you just did the same thing over and over and over again, it would get really boring. This entire industry would be really boring if there was one guitar maker with one shape.
Yeah, it would. That would be weird.
Facts.
I'm glad we have multiple shapes, and sometimes it's even confusing for people. Right? This is why we do Find Your Fit events, and this is why we do road shows when we're able to do that, and this is why we do Primetime. Right? We had a whole episode on guitar shape, and then we have the tone wood. Right? So for those, right? Maybe to reiterate, the shape of the guitar makes the sound. It's kind of part of the sound because you need a person. So, but the way we say it is the shape makes the sound, the tone wood flavors the sound, and then there's you, right? And you can play however you want. Running your acoustic guitar through pedals, Mike, how do you feel about that?
Actually, can I just say one more thing about what you were just talking about really quick, and then we'll get onto the pedal thing?
It's your show.
One other thing that I get told a lot, and I'm sure if there's anybody on the call, anybody that's watching on the YouTubes that works in a guitar store has heard this before. You know, if you're trying a guitar and you see the price tag on it and maybe it's a little bit more dear than others, so oh no, that would be for a professional. What does that mean?
Oh, good point. Really good point.
Don't let price dictate what you like. You know, if you like a $500 guitar, like it because you like the guitar, not because of the price tag, you know. But if that $500 guitar sounds terrible and a $1,500 guitar sounds better, do yourself a favor, spend the money and get something you like better. By the same token, if you prefer the sound of a $500 guitar and you don't really like the sound of the $1,500 guitar, but you feel like you should spend more on yourself, well, then buy 3 of the $500 guitar. What can I tell you? Just don't let the number that's attached to the tag on the guitar dictate your actions. It has to an extent. I'm not, don't get me wrong. I'm not naive. We all have, budgetary concerns, but if there's a difference between one thing and another thing, and the difference is so great that, I really wish I had this, I wish I had the money for it, then wait. Wait, save up the money, get what you really, really want, because what you don't want to do is just keep, putting pearls before swine, in a sense. Not saying that the guitar you're going to buy because you can afford it is bad. It's just that if you like something better, you'll be happier with it and you'll play better. So just wanted to make sure I got that out.
Yeah. Well said. And also, there would be no Taylor guitars. There would be no Gibson. There would be no Fender if we only sold to professionals.
Yeah. How many people, what's the percentage, Andy? If you had to hazard a guess of all the people that play guitar, how many people what percentage make their living playing guitar?
Yeah, very small. And a lot of people, when I meet them and talk about what I do, they're like, "Oh, do you know rock stars?" I'm like, "No, I've met a couple." But I mean, most of I think what people connect with Taylor is that we're really into meeting what we're doing tonight. Right? We're trying to connect with people through this bizarre new shitty interface. Sorry. But we're trying to keep in touch with people because that's what we do. And we realize that our customers are not rock stars. I mean, our customers are people like us. And it's that's what I really dig about it. And that's what I dig about working for Taylor. And that's what I used to like about retail too. Just connecting, like Mike said, connecting the customer with something that gives them a voice and lets them express themselves.
Yeah, there's nothing better than handing a guitar to a kid or an adult that their eyes just light up the minute they play it. Whether it's doing the job I do now or when I was working in retail or what have you, there was nothing more rewarding than that. That's, the bottom line. That's why we do what we do, because we're all musicians. We all have a vested interest in music. We have a vested interest in working at Taylor, but we want to make sure that we're imparting that wisdom onto somebody else and helping them along that journey and sharing that joy. So that's, it's great to be able to see that light in their eyes when that connection is made with the instrument. You don't buy a price, you buy a guitar.
Right. And we're in an industry where we're making tools for people to make music, and music is what you wanted it to be. I've heard people send me, I've been in the industry for a long time. You've been in the industry too, Mike. Let me tell you, I'll ask you a question from the industry side. This side is much better, right? Actually,
that was more of a statement than a question, but
I'm saying it is, isn't it? Like actually working for a manufacturer, 100% employee owned manufacturer, and being able to make instruments and put these instruments into the hands of people, be it artists that we work with, influencers that we work with, artists that, Lindsay, we get to work with, we just started working with this artist out of Philly named Chemist, who is this like unbelievable hip hop musician who plays acoustic guitar while he's performing. It's unique. It's different. We get to do this thing. And I appreciate you saying, make it what you want to make it. It's music. Pick up the instrument. If it's $500 and that's the one that speaks to you, speak back, grab it and do your thing. Right. I agree though. If you save your money and you get the better guitar, you'll play longer, you'll play more. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. You got to look at it as what's your price for fun. That's really what it boils down to. What's your price for fun? And, if you buy a $50 guitar, you're going to get $50 worth of fun out of it, which really isn't much until you blow it up or set it on fire or something like that. Not encouraging it. I'm just saying that may have happened in the past in my experience by me. But and price for fun it doesn't just have to be the guitar. There are other things that, like you brought up, pedals. So let's loop around back to that. You could take that same $50 that you're going to spend on an awesome guitar, and buy a $50 pedal that'll give you a world of, of doors opening to you that expands your creativity. I think pedals with acoustic guitars is fine. And why? No rules, right?
Right.
There's no rules. There are a lot of great artists out there that use pedals when they're playing acoustic guitar, and you probably don't know it. Look at Ed Sheeran. I mean,
absolutely.
That dude developed pedal board. He's a mad scientist. So, I mean, he's got everything at his feet there. He sets rhythms, he does loops, he does this, it's almost integral. If he didn't have that, I'm sure he would be a wonderful singer-songwriter, but this really expanded the way that he found his sound. So I encourage it. And there's lots of companies out there that make like pedals for acoustic guitars, or, rigs for acoustic guitars that you can tap in and have multi effects in one rack unit or one floor unit or what have you. There's lots of different ways to find different sounds out of what it is that you already have, and help expand your doorways, expand your horizons. And when you start doing that, that's when you start really connecting with music in general, not just with the instrument. You connect with music, and then you just start thinking like, wow, this is bigger than just me. I want to share this with other people too. And then you start recording, and then you start playing with other people, or maybe you're a narcissist and you just want to do solo gigs at coffee houses. Who knows? But either way, you're playing. And that's what matters. And if you keep playing, you'll keep expanding. There's no limit to how much you can learn about music, because since there's no rules, there's always something new to learn. Is it good to know some of the quote unquote rules? Yes, that helps guide you on the way. But then you could veer off and just keep going in different directions because it's fun. But yes, use pedals, please.
I'm thinking about two things right now, Jay. One of them, I want to go back to what Lindsay said about the pressure.
Yeah.
I think that pressure to own like the best stuff or the shiniest stuff is a result of the time we live in, right? I mean, there's so much available right now, and we live in the USA is the largest MI market in the world. Okay. So we have more guitar stores, we have more choices, we have more options, we have more players than anywhere else in the world. Right. But I always think about when I go back and I look at like a picture of Robert Johnson, or I think about an early, even 70s, 80s stuff, man, that gear was not as good then. Right. And that did not stop those people from finding their sound. It did not stop those people from creating genres entirely. How good was Django Reinhardt's guitar? It's probably a piece of crap, right? It didn't matter. Dude had, three fingers, 3 digits, right?
Yep.
And he completely developed and spelled a whole new type of music, right? So that don't get buried by that shiny need to be the find something that works for you. And one more thing, I was just thinking, like, when you were talking about going your own route and trying to figure out your own sound, I remember going to see a band one time. And Mike, do you remember the Seymour Duncan Woody sound hole pickups?
Yeah.
Terrible, horrible,
Awful. No offense, Seymour Duncan.
Yeah,
no offense.
Right. I mean,
love you guys.
Nothing above like 3K probably. No, not hi-fi at all, and nothing below 200. It's like just mid-range, like terrible sounding. Yeah. But I remember going to see a band with a guy with a cheap guitar with that in the sound hole plugged into a Fender Twin, and it was perfect for the band, right? And that's not what we talk about, really. That's not who we are as a company. But figure out if that's where you are, and that's fine if you do that. And if it makes you happy, well, yeah, then your price for fun is even less, right?
Yeah, there you go, because you already paid for it.
Yeah, right.
And I think you could find some used Woodies on eBay. Speaking of expanding the horizons and just using different things, we talked about this on Saturday when we were doing Coffee and Guitars on Clubhouse, and I was working on a song, and Andy, I know you heard this. I have a neighbor, and my apartment walls are fairly thin, and he likes doing karaoke, and he's not good. And so he was singing particularly loud one day. And so I walked out of my apartment with my phone, and I just stood outside his door and I just recorded him. And so I got like a good 40 seconds of him singing, and I made a song out of it. I actually used it as influence for a song that I just completed this weekend. I have to remix it, but yeah, I mean, and guess what? I wrote a song around his terrible notes. I found notes in there somewhere, and I was able to write a song that fit around that. And that just comes from the experience of trying different things and just broadening horizons and just challenging yourself.
What's the name of that
trying
tune?
to make the name of that tune is called Karaokeval.
Okay. Because it sounded, when I heard it one time, and it sounded like an animal almost. It sounded like primal, like weird. It didn't sound human.
Yeah, that's a guy.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's like, it sounds like he's torturing wolves. I'm going to be honest with you. But in the hands of a mad scientist, it becomes musical. So you just do things because it's fun. And this is one of those things I did because I'm not making money off it, though. I think I'll put it up on Bandcamp and see if anybody buys it. But it's just fun. It's just experimentation. It's just expanding the boundaries. And while I don't necessarily consider him an instrument, I used it as one. So you can find inspiration anywhere, and you can create sound out of anything, really. And my price for fun was really cheap.
Oh man. All right. We got to keep the show going. This is great. Mike, you're fantastic. It's so good to chat with you. I think I followed that story. Guys, get your questions ready for Mike. We'll move into some Q&A. Thank you so much for just enlightening us with your knowledge, your spirit, your passion for this industry, your passion for music. It's always it feels great when you're on a conversation with Mike or he's in the room. It's wonderful. So thanks for joining us on the show. I think I followed that question or that story about your neighbor with something about, okay, so I used to work with a lot of bands. I think we were doing some pre-production for a tour. I tour managed this band called H2O out of New York. And we were in a rehearsal studio, and we had taken a break, and there's bands all over the place, right? And we walk out the door, a bunch of us, and we're going to go maybe for a lunch break or restroom or get some water or something like that. And one of the guys in the band goes, "Ooh, that's the worst Red Hot Chili Peppers cover band I've ever heard." And as we keep walking, Flea and Anthony Kiedis walked out of the door. And I was like, oh man, this is not good. But what the proof is, it starts somewhere, and it's not always good when you start, right? So you just got to keep starting, keep picking up the guitar. It's like coffee in the morning. Drink your coffee, go grab your guitar, play. And It doesn't matter what kind or what size or what shape. A lot of it's you. Learn what you like, learn what you're looking to find, and go get it. It's awesome.
And if you're having some trouble, just one last thing. If you're having some trouble and you're hitting a wall, go to sleep. Seriously.
That's good advice.
Put it down, take a nap,
Rest.
Go for a walk, have a meal, come back to it later.
Run a marathon.
Half marathon.
There's an excellent Daniel Lanois documentary where Brian Eno is involved as well. And they're talking about Daniel's like trying to explain what he wants to do, and he's asking Eno's opinion on like how should I do this? What should I show people? And Eno says, show them how beautiful things come out of crap. He said that, he says that, and Lanois is just like, yeah, okay. It's one of those like artsy moments, but I forget the name of it, man. But check it out. There's some great Lanois. He's one of my heroes. So That was a great that quote you just, or what you just said reminded me of that quote from Eno.
That's awesome. Gabe, do we have any questions? You want to throw Mike's way? Is Gabe here? Gabe's here. Philip, when I listen to videos of nylon guitars, they sound great. When I play one, it sounds like plastic. What could I be doing wrong? That is a great question. Andy, you want to take it?
He's playing too hard. He's playing too hard, and the nylon strings can't take as much energy from your strumming hand. You got to back off. You got to let the guitar do the speaking, and especially if you're playing through an amplifier, dial the treble back. You don't want to hear a lot of high end in a nylon string guitar. It's kind of a broad question because I don't know if he's talking about classical guitar or nylon string and pop music, but a nylon string guitar has a much less tension on it as well. You can't hit that thing that hard. So you find the sweet spot where it sounds the best if you're using fingers, or you back off and let the amplifier or the PA system do the work, and don't try to drive it too hard. You're smashing it. You're compressing it. That would be my guess.
Hey, Andy, I got a question for you on that end. Would you recommend changing the tension of the strings? Because there's different tensions for nylon strings. What you think might help?
Extra hard tension always on nylon string guitars.
I agree.
By the way, there are some great questions. Gabe,
I'm frightened.
Hit us with a question. Why has Taylor gone away from HD Light strings they partnered with Elixir on?
Well, I think that was part and parcel because of V-class bracing, and the way that V-class bracing reacts, I don't think necessitated the even balance, the even tension across all the strings. So it was just easier to keep things a little more contiguous. That's my recollection of it. Andy, do I have that right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think it's right. I think also just honestly, it was a little bit too much tension for a lot of people. 13 is a pretty hefty gauge to have on a high E string.
Yep.
And our guitars, people have known our GAs for so long for a certain feel. That was something that Andy wanted. He thought would be important. That sounded amazing. It sounded great. And it still sounds great. And again, that's maybe something that you want to go for you're not going to hurt your guitar by stringing it with a light gauge set from G to low E and then using a medium gauge on the B and the E. That's what that was essentially. That's all. I think it was just, something that, Andy wanted to try. He knows what it sounds like, and it is what it is. We went back to 12s.
And we are not afraid at Taylor Guitars to say stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you ask Bob Taylor, you see that Taylor, is that a Taylor solid body behind you, Mike?
It is a very special Taylor solid body. Yeah.
If you ask Bob Taylor why we stopped selling them, he would say because they didn't sell. They weren't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, it's simple. So that's a good. You got any more questions, Gabe? Mike. Oh, Timothy. Timothy's the king of trivia. Mike, you being the tone expert, I'm now for the rest of time calling you the tone expert. What are some of your favorite acoustic guitars that you find yourself coming back to those all the time for the tone? Can you share 2 or 3 of your favorites? Ooh, 2 or 3.
Well, this is going to be fairly easy, but I will say that I don't own these because I work at a guitar company. So I'm able to sort of borrow them if I ever needed to. If I owned every guitar that I like that we made, I have to move as it is. I don't have any room as it is, but I would just need a dedicated room just for acoustic guitars, and I'd have to sleep on the couch. For me, I was always attracted to maple. The first time I went to go work in a guitar store and the store was a Taylor dealer, I'd never actually heard of Taylor. This was back in 2001. And I'd never heard of Taylor at the time. And I walked into the store. I'm like, oh, what is this Taylor? Oh, this one's kind of nice. I like this kind of blonde look to it. And it was a 614 CE. And I was like, oh, let's see, what is this all about? And I played one chord and I was sold instantly. It was just like, wow, that is amazing. It's articulate. It's bright. It just sounded like I wanted an acoustic guitar to sound like. So for me, anything in our 600 series is pretty, lights my fire a bit. Out of all of them, the 618E that we're making now is one of the top 3 sounding guitars that we make by far. I mean, that guitar is a revelation how good that guitar sounds.
Boom.
I love the way that guitar sounds. I have to go with something newer as well. That GT811E.
It's got sound in it, doesn't it?
That thing sounded so good when I had it. We as salespeople, we get to kind of play around with it, so we familiarize ourselves with some of the newer products. And then I had to send it away, and I was very sad because that guitar was so easy to play, sounded so good, recorded like a dream. That thing, if I had one of those, it just total like, it's, louder, bigger. That guitar is absolutely astounding. And then honestly, any GS Mini we make. I mean, you can pick up one of those. Every time I got one on the wall over there. So anytime I pick up a GS Mini and I play it, I go, man, this is bigger than some of the guitars I owned when I was a kid, sounding wise. But it's half the size or whatever it is. I have a guitar by a company that rhymes with Arton, back in New York. And, it was my first real acoustic guitar, and that guitar sounds great. And I have nothing against it at all. In fact, I when I go home, every time I go home, I still play it. But, I hear that and then I'm like, well, let me just pick up this GS. Wow. It's like, I know it's different, but to me, I just keep going back to GS Mini anytime I just want to noodle around, come up with an idea, because again, like I've been playing a lot more acoustic guitar since I've been working at Taylor. And now when I write, I almost write exclusively on acoustic, because if it sounds good on acoustic, I know I can make it sound good on electric, and when I want that inspiration, I just pick up the GS Mini, sit on the couch with it and just noodle around. Next thing you know, I have an idea. So that's why I always go back to that guitar. But 618E, GT811E, and any GS Mini.
Man, that was great. Lindsay,
thank you.
GS Mini?
Huh?
Do you have a GS Mini?
Nope. I have the GT Urban Ash.
Yeah.
Which is also fun. It's also just
the Urban Ash one. Yeah, the Urban Ash one is great.
And it sounds amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gabriel, any more? Ooh, Sophia, what's your favorite guitar body shape? It has to be acoustic.
Has to be acoustic. Okay, then an acoustic Les Paul. No, I'm kidding.
That would be terrible.
I'm a big fan of the Grand Concert.
I'll be right back.
And Andy's Pizza's there. I'm a big fan of the Grand Concert.
Love that.
And 12 fret specifically. One of my favorite Taylors that I owned was a 612 CE 12 fret. Again, maple body, and just a smaller size. And because it's smaller, I like the way it just reacts to a light touch. I like the fact that I don't need to drive it to get it to speak. It just sort of works. So for me, I would lean, if I, broadly speaking, I would say pretty much any Grand Concert I could pick up and be pretty happy with it. Yep.
Great answer. Gabriel's our producer, by the way. He's back there somewhere doing stuff.
This is a great question.
Wizard of Oz.
What's been my biggest sales challenge over the past 12 months? This is going to sound really, there's 2 of them. One is not being able to get in front of people, like literally in front of them. We could talk all day on the phone. We could do Zoom meetings and that's great. But there's something about, pressing flesh, shaking the hand that, if you're not able to do that, it's sort of, it's a little watered down. I know what Jay's doing right now. The other thing is the fact that while it's a very short commute from my bedroom to my living room, and I'm saving a lot of gas, which is great, saving money on gas. It's very much Groundhog Day, and it has been for a year. And I find myself, and I look, everybody's like, I wish I could work from home. And then you work from home, like, I wish I could go to the office. And you're like, what's wrong with me? But that's, you know, there's the interaction of working with your coworkers and be able to get things done. And, you know, there's something about just not being at home because I feel like I'm never able to unplug, you know?
That was the best question by Andrew. Oh man, we got a superstar in the feed right now.
Hey, you guys were talking about GS Minis a minute ago, and one of the coolest things that I found, and this also has to do with getting out of your comfort zone, coming up with new ways to play, new ideas, is using a GS Mini in Nashville tuning. Okay, so that's how I leave mine, right? So I've been wanting to show this for a while, but what it is that the bottom 4 strings are an octave higher than a standard tuned guitar. So the E and the B are the same, right? But then the G, so that's all an octave higher. So then especially when you finger pick inside in the middle strings, it's a little bit out of tune, but you get note sequences that just don't ever happen on a normal guitar. Sounds like Tom Petty all of a sudden. I'm free. But the cool stuff happens in those middle strings. Right?
That's nerdy. Nashville tuning is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
High stringing, right? High stringing on a GS Mini is perfect. You can also, if you guys like to get weird, look up. You may be able to find some stuff on YouTube. We're on the YouTubes, so you could search after the show, right? Look for people who turn baby Taylors into trace guitars or weird 4-string guitars or doing stuff like that. I mean, there's so much you can do with instruments, but Andy, I didn't know you had a high-strung GS Mini. That's great.
It's been like this. The strings have been on here for years, but I just leave it that way because it's really a nice thing to pick up, and especially like if you're trying to add a texture to a track that you're working on.
I do encourage you to change strings.
No. That's a good question. I'm going to put this question up. Rob says, do you have to buy 2 sets of strings to get the Nashville tuning? How about that on my 324 CE? Ooh.
Awesome. Yeah, do it. Try it. Yeah.
Do you have to buy 2 sets of strings, or do you just buy a 12-string set?
Doesn't Diodario make a high-strung set?
I think they do make a Nashville set.
Yeah. Or you buy a 12-string set and you use the octave strings from the 12-string acoustic set. That's right.
Awesome.
Like Mike said earlier, if you do that, you're going to have a lot less tension on the guitar. You probably need to loosen the truss rod a little bit once you get it tuned up to pitch.
And but on a 324 CE, I'm sorry, not to step on you, but on a 324 CE, you'll make noise, but you also have to remember that those strings are going to be a lot thinner in general. So to drive that top, to get the volume out of it that you want, it may not get you there, but it'll make sound. It's just maybe not going to be as full as you might expect it to be on a bigger guitar because it's not driving that top to move as much.
Be less tension on it.
Gabriel, any more? We'll do 3 more questions and then we'll move on. Hunter. Hey, Hunter. What's up, dude? If you had to choose one guitar to introduce someone to Taylor guitars, what would it be?
814 CE. That's like the most softball of questions. Because I mean, that's just what we're known for. That's if you take an 814 CE and put it in anybody's hands, everybody's going to go, wow, that's pretty great. And not just because it's of the number, but because of the tone wood pairing being spruce rosewood, that classic spruce rosewood pairing, and the shape being our shape, that grand auditorium shape that, that Bob came up with all those years ago. So that's the epitome of Taylor guitars. as far as feel, shape, tonality, I think.
Incredible. I would agree.
I agree.
Would you agree, Andy?
I would agree, and you're giving that person the opportunity to play one of the best guitars there is in the world, right? So then they're going to go, how much is this? Okay, so they're going to freak out probably. But if they're going into it as thinking, I want to spend, like earlier we were talking about, a couple $100. However, it's always important for somebody to have an experience playing the best thing that there is, because someday you're going to want it, and someday you want to get to that point where you feel like you can justify it. Now, if somebody is starting very, very much at the beginning and there isn't a lot of budget, start them with a GS Mini, right? That's because that's not the least expensive guitar you can buy either, but it's an amazing guitar and for the money. And now we even have a GT. So we have a few. I actually just pulled this off recently with a woman that I met up here she wanted to buy a guitar for her daughter, and she's like, "Can I want to get something for around a couple $100." I'm like, "Well, here's what you can get for a couple $100. Our guitars start at this price." And so I sold her a GS Mini mahogany.
Yeah, it's always good to try the what we call the aspirational guitar.
Never going to be bummed about it. You're going to forget about that $300 in a year, right? It's gone. Who cares? $300.
Amazing.
The life of the guitar.
Next, 2 more. Whoa. Mike, can you give us your perspective about ES2 pickup system design? What sonics did Rupert Neve include in its electronic design? Oh man, Rupert, RIP.
Well, Rupert was an electronic engineering genius. I don't think he had anything to do with ES2. That was all done in-house.
Right.
David Hostler and his team came up with the ES2 electronic system. So there's little to no Neve-isms in that system at all. It's a completely different system. Whereas the ES1 that was developed with Rupert Neve, that was sensors and a dummy coil. This is piezo or piezo crystals. Is what the ES2 is based off of, and the preamp is completely different. The response is extremely different. The adjustability is completely different. So it really doesn't share anything in common with it. And as far as, trying it through different systems, try it through different systems, try it through different EQs, try it straight, again, it goes back to just trying different things and experimentation and finding what sound works for you. The great thing is that, it's a very easy to use system in a lot of ways. It's very simple, volume-based treble, but the width of the EQ and the bass and treble, you can dial in multitude of sounds. So.
Yes. And I might also say it's okay if you don't like it.
Yep.
Okay if you want to order a guitar without it, or you want to retrofit a sound hole pickup, or we have plenty of artists and plenty of people who do that. It's okay to go ahead and do that. You got to know that you can.
Yep.
Right. Sound is subjective. Tone is subjective. Right. You got to remember that. One more question, and then we'll dive into the rest of the show. Remember, we're giving away a Taylor Sense at the end. Trivia. Are you using torrefied wood on any of your models?
We use torrefied tops on the majority of our Builder's Edition guitars. Not all of them, but the majority of them. And also on our 600 series standard, those are torrefied tops on those guitars. So yeah, we are using torrefied wood, putting it through the torrefaction process as the tops only. People say, well, why don't you torrefy sides and back? Well, that opens up a whole can of worms and a world of brittle, if you will, that could come out of that. And really the enhancement in tone is non-existent, or very little, I should say. So that's why we look at it from the top, because the top is the speaker cone of your guitar.
Yeah.
And that's what's pushing out the volume. So if you want to kind of break in your speaker cone a bit, that's why it's great to torrefy the top of the guitar. It kind of gives you that speaker cone that's already been broken in. So it projects a little bit further and it's a little bit warmer right out of the box.
Maybe we should have Bob Taylor back on and ask him how torrefaction works. I don't know if you saw that episode, Mike, but Bob is tired of that question. Yeah.
I went into a 20-second explanation, and that's where I cut it off.
There's one more question that I was looking for. I might have lost it. Oh, I found it. Wait, what was that? Put that back up, Gabe. That was good.
Egg cartons.
Nope. I liked Bob's answer. Oh, that's good. Well, here's the question that I have. Right? This is by a good friend of ours from suburban Chicago. What's Mike's favorite cheeseburger?
So there's a bar restaurant in Downers Grove, Illinois, and it's called Neat. And they have a burger that Paul Tobias, who coincidentally wrote this question, has dubbed the moose egg burger because they put a duck egg on the top of the burger. And I don't know how big this duck is, but it's like some otherworldly sized duck that laid these eggs. And the yolk is like the size of a baby's head. It's just tremendous. And so he's called it the moose egg burger. So I don't even remember what the name of the burger is, but maybe it's the Neat burger. I don't know, but moose egg burger from Neat in Downers Grove, Illinois.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you, Mike.
I think, Mike, you should stick to selling guitars because what you just said does not make me want to eat that cheeseburger.
No, not at all.
You got to figure out another way. I mean, I know you were thrown right out there in the middle of the road on that one, but
it's all good. I didn't have I didn't have a statement prepared.
Yeah.
Oh man, you got the vegan in the corner up here.
Like Jay would love it.
Yeah. No, not gonna eat it. Mike, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.
The Tone Equation. Guys, jump out of your comfort zone. It's okay. It's okay to jump right out of your comfort zone. Try something new. Try something different. It's totally fine.
Record your neighbor.
So Mike, you know that the next part of the show may have become our favorite part of the show. It is called Lindsay's Question. And this is the part of the show where she tries very hard to stump the guest. The funny part is the questions aren't that hard. It's just great. But Andy, do you have a song?
I'm about ready to step out of my comfort zone right now, Jay.
Do it.
Mr. V. Mr. V, she might stomp you, Mr. V. No turning back, no guarantee. Who knows what's on her mind? When you're gone, you will find she got to know you. Mr. V, she got to know you. Mr. V.
Can I do this show every week?
That
was fire.
That was wild.
Oh man,
that was an experience.
Fire emoji, prayer emoji.
Okay, then.
Amazing.
Somebody said, "What was in that pizza?"
Lindsay, it's your turn.
Yeah. Let's see, Mike. I think I was looking up some questions. I think this is a good one. What part of a kid's movie when you were a child completely scared you, just ruined you, traumatized you? Maybe you can't watch it today.
No, I got over all that, thankfully. Friday the 13th is a kid's movie, right?
I don't think so.
There was, all right. So can I really wasn't scared of any movies as a kid, but this is going to sound really weird. There were a couple of things that I was really afraid of on one on Sesame Street and one on Fraggle Rock. Both of them having to do with Muppets. Yep. I kid you not. And I'll never forget it. Like there was this one Sesame Street episode where there were like these hidden dragons in a wall, and like they would, hit the gong, and then like the dragons would light up and roar, and like all these like silly and it was, as a kid, it was very dark because it was like a lot of dark and red and just evil. And I guess I like it a lot more now, considering, look at the albums on my wall. But yeah, like that was one. I don't remember the name of the episode, but it was like, I was like 5 or something like that. And whenever that part of, when, they always reran it on PBS. So when I watched that one, like I literally would leave the room when that segment would come on Sesame Street. Like I knew they were starting it, and I would just leave, and I would go in my room and I would shut my door, and my mom would always wonder what was wrong with me. I'm like, I can't watch that. So that, and then there was, I forget exactly what, there was some sort of thing on a Fraggle Rock episode where like they were getting sucked into a cave and there was like all this wind and stuff. Yeah. Fraggle Rock is terrifying, or at least it was. Yeah. So nothing movie wise, but Sesame Street, stay away from that. That's just dangerous.
Lindsay, that question was fire.
It was
great. Oh man. Elmo's
terrifying.
My in-laws got my daughters, when they were kids, introduced to this show called Sillyville. Oh, I dare you. That's all I say is I dare you. That's terrifying. Anyway. Wow, Lindsay, that was a good one.
It was.
And we now know Mike.
Now we know Mike.
For better or worse. I could see what's going to show up at my door on Christmas, like, the entire Sesame Street collection. Like,
absolutely.
All right, you know what time it is. It's my favorite time of the show. Gabe, take it away. Maybe.
He took it.
Run the clip.
Now.
3,
and now.
2,
Now.
1. Now.
And I'll do it. I have control. I'll do it. Ready, Mike? I'll do it.
Now.
Yes.
It's 2 minutes of sports. Let's go to the game. We will sit in the sun, scream real loud, watch him run around, about to make me be proud. Dogs and beer, it's been more than a year. Take a nap or stand up and cheer. 2 minutes of sports.
Two minutes of sports. All right. So, Mike, the Yankees. Yes. I got a couple of questions about the Yankees and then baseball in general. Mike, the Yankees. Who is the greatest guitar playing Yankee player of all time?
It's kind of a loaded question, because I know where you're going with this.
No.
Okay.
In your opinion, who is the greatest?
I mean, Bernie Williams is pretty darn accomplished as a guitar player, to be honest with you. And Paul O'Neill was actually a pretty decent drummer. But yeah, Bernie Williams would definitely have to get my vote as best guitar playing Yankee.
Bernie Williams is pretty great. We actually have a picture of Mike. I don't know if we were able to share it today, but where Mike does this thing where he's the king of the photobomb. And I have a wonderful picture of Tim Godwin, who is on the show, standing with Bernie Williams. And then all of a sudden behind him, you see Mike Venezia's smiling face. It's wonderful. Bernie Williams. But Mike, what was one of the best baseball experiences that you've had in the last 3 years? In Philly.
In Philly? Okay. Well, this guy, Jay Parkin, I know, happened to be in town the same time as me when I was doing the Philly Guitar Show in July of 2019, I believe this was. And he's like, hey, you want to go to the Phillies game? I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, yeah, we can go up to the press box or something like that. He said, I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Go to the press box. Cool. Watch them all like writing the reports as the game's going on. All right, cool. And I get there like right as they're closing the will call booth because, I was working most of the day. So I got there like right at the 5th inning, which is like the cutoff. He met me at the gate. We go upstairs and we're going in the whole, was it Citizens Bank Park? Right. We go to these elevators and get in the elevator and with this other gentleman who's taking us up and nice guy. And we go up and we go in this room and I'm not in the press box. I'm in the radio broadcast booth. And the guy who brought us up is the play-by-play guy. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so they sit me in the middle of the two announcers with the headphones on. And if you were looking up, it looked like I was part of the radio crew watching the game from behind home plate while Scott and Larry Anderson are calling the game. I'm like, this is unbelievable. The only way this could be better is if it was the Yankees.
That's true.
But but
it was a good time.
That was great. But the funny thing was Scott Fransky did ask me, he's like, what do you think of John Sterling, who's been calling the Yankees for like 35 years? I'm like, a little much at times, but I like him.
Yeah, we enjoyed ourselves that day. They put us on the headsets and all I have to say, this might be a little inside. Mike, it's cold outside. It's cold outside, Mike. Nevertheless, Mike, thank you for joining the show. We're going to get into some trivia and wrap it up real quick. All right. We got one trivia question. This is it's a difficult trivia question, but I hope that someone left in the comments is still ready to answer some trivia. This is a good one. Gabriel, I'll go ahead and show it so I can control it. All righty, here. And the question is, you guys know the rules, right? The rules are pretty simple. The first person to answer this correctly in the feed, we will get confirmation from Gabriel and Matt from our team. So they'll tell us who did this, right? So that we make sure that we get the right person. Send us an email at primetime@taylorguitars.com and we will get you set up with a Taylor Sense unit.
Can I give the asterisk?
Yeah.
Paul Tobias cannot answer.
It's right. The rules are Paul Tobias and Gabriel O'Brien cannot answer the questions. The question is such a good one tonight. Mike wrote it. Mike wrote the questions. In fact, I like having the guests write the questions. From now on, that's going to happen. Here we go. Question is, what Taylor guitar did Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong play on Good Riddance, Time of Your Life? Woo.
1974, Lutz, Ash, and Cameroon, and T and Tecate are previous answers to trivia. Put your knowledge on the line. Trivia. Free Taylor Sense on Primetime. Trivia.
Hey, wow, that went quick.
Somebody got that really fast.
Stan Step 3. I don't know your real name, but we're calling you Stan Step. Wow, good job. It was a 514 CE. Absolutely. Man.
Nice.
Bravo.
Some of the other answers were really good. A green one was one of my personal favorites. Thank you. Yeah, that was good.
A green one. Wow, that was great. Good work. Send us an email at primetime@taylorguitars.com and we will set you up with that Taylor Sense unit for your Taylor guitar. Mike, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Man, you're awesome.
Thank you guys. I'm only awesome because of all of you. You make me look good.
Lindsay, it's always wonderful to hang out with you, even though we do it 19 times a day. Mm-hmm. And Andy from the North Woods, it's always great to see you every Tuesday. Everybody in the feed, thank you so much for joining us. Our low budget show that got $5 more this year. We're going to, hopefully we'll get 10 more bucks next year. It's going to be fantastic if we keep this thing going. Thank you so much for spending time with us every single week. We love you dearly. We appreciate you. And you know what, Andy? Take it away.
What was it? What was it? It was prime time. It was prime time. What the heck was it? Well, that was prime time. Hey, Mr. Mike Venezia, Mr. Half Marathon Man. Mike said he doesn't like to do no math. Figure out your price for fun. Mike's a real metalhead, a massive Slayer fan. But he loves Gino Vanelli, but don't ever mention Wham. Mike's got a weirdo neighbor. He can hear him through his walls. It really drives him crazy. He wants to punch him in the... We only show love on prime time. Never any punching. Only love on Tuesdays. On prime time. Thanks, Mikey V. See y'all next week. Have a good week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
This is a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Thanks for everybody for watching.
Thanks for everyone watching. See you next time. And stuff.